Welcome to Biztech's Enterprise Technology Show, where we feature tech companies that are innovating in the large enterprise space. We also talk about burning technology questions and topics that are top of mind for companies across the region. Now, we speak to Terry Smagh, the Senior Vice President and General Manager, Asia Pacific and Japan at BlackLine. Now, BlackLine is an American enterprise software company founded in 2001 that develops cloud-based services designed to automate and control the entire financial close process. Now, to share more insights, Terry, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Good to be here.
Now, Terry, could you start by giving us a quick overview of BlackLine and its history over the last 20 years?
Sure. So BlackLine is a market leader in modern accounting. And when we talk about modern accounting, we help businesses move to modern accounting. And we do that by unifying their various data sources, their processes, more importantly, automating repetitive work, the mundane day-to-day work. And throughout this whole process, we drive accountability. So rather than doing, closing your books at the month end, we close the books daily. We drive the accountability daily. We kind of bring in governance and compliance as you do your closing for financial data. Modern accounting is extremely essential for a simple reason. Firstly, it unifies all of the company's systems and data, financial stuff, right? Brings it together, and it brings it together to a single source. So imagine disparate systems everywhere, financially, lots of entities everywhere. You want a modern accounting system to bring that all together. It enables businesses to speed up processes. One of the biggest things in today's businesses is about agility, right? You want to have speed. Absolutely. And then, and you want to basically minimize your risk. So when you encounter risk, you want to have less risk as possible. And more importantly, financial close, streamlining financial close, but improving financial integrity in your day-to-day process. So BlackLine, market leader, 3,800 customers worldwide, listed on NASDAQ, and we've just got presence across industries while we serve the Office of Finance.
Okay, so if you look at it, modern accounting and all large accounting systems will tell you that they've got all this functionality. What is your secret sauce that has enabled you to solve customer challenges? And in many ways, when you look at it, you are very unique in the market space.
One of the biggest testament to how we work, we are agnostic to any ERP vendors out there, but yet one of our largest partners is SAP, right? SAP are partnering with us as a technology solution partner. When they go to market and we talk about financial close, it's BlackLine. BlackLine is a product of choice. So our secret sauce is our speed to market. Our secret sauce is our 3,800 customers that talk all about it. Our secret sauce is the fact that we comply with a governance framework, which is very, very strong, right? But more importantly, with the expertise and the product knowledge, because we've been doing this for 20 years, yes, right? As you said, right? We've picked an area with a very large total addressable market, right? We picked an area where the Office of Finance and the CFO, who's a strategic partner to the CEO, need to play a vital part. So, while we do that, when we do our BVAs, our business value assessments, we do that collectively with them, understanding what their processes look like, understanding, what are their ESG goals, but more importantly, where are they going with sustainability, which I'm sure we'll touch on later today. Yes. But I think the most important point here is that the secret sauce of success are the fact that we can be efficient, we can be agile, and most important, we are taking the digital transformation for the Office of Finance back to the business.
Okay, I want to zoom in a little bit on that, because if you talk about digital transformation, that's been a buzzword, particularly since the pandemic hit. Now, how have through your lens, how has the pandemic changed the way businesses look at their finance and accounting functions and the technology solutions around it?
Firstly, I believe we are both very blessed to be where we are. COVID has been extremely trying for a lot of it, and I do thank all the frontline service people, for the undying service together. But I think more importantly, in every opportunity, in every crisis, an opportunity begins. When there are many organizations that looked at digital transformation and never actually thought about doing it. They were doing it piecemeal. Let's try, let's see, let's go. When you talk about AI, machine learning, IoT, everybody talked about it, but no one was actually doing it. What COVID has done is that it has really accelerated the need to be digital, accelerated the need to actually you know, when we talk about democratizing AI and stuff that you want to automate, and that's what it does. The Office of Finance has been extremely important for a simple reason, because they needed to close their books and they needed to do it quick. How do you do that remotely? BlackLine being SaaS, right? You know, being independent, being absolutely the ability to provide agile close processes, you know, in your secure environment, gave them that perspective itself. Now, accountants rarely change jobs. You know, and we did a survey. Accountants and finance professionals are normally in the same company for between 8 to 12 years, right? So because stability begets all of that bit. But so when you talk about giving them technology and innovation, it's all about, is this going to replace my job, or is it going to make me a better person to do my job? And that's where transformation has come into play. We have talked, and you're right, business transformation has been around for a long time, right? Digitalization, let's go out there and talk about it. It's a lot of buzzwords, right? Yes. Big data, business analytics, and, you know, and AI and machine learning and robotics, process automation. Everybody's been taking a dip at it. But I think the process of transformation today starts at the heart of your core function, which is finance. That pays the bills, that tells you profitability, that tells you literally the health of your business. So you want to make sure that that particular core of your function, your backbone of the business, is streamlined for better efficiency.
No, and also, Terry, you know, at the end of the day, you talk about a customer pain point. If I'm a CFO or finance director, my biggest pain point most of the time is month closing. Mm-hmm. And if you look at it historically, if you go back, and you've been in this business for 20 years, or I mean, more than 20 years. If you think back 20 years ago and how long it took to close, year-end closing, versus now with, I mean, a solution like yours, and we're not paid to promote this solution, but the key thing is you solve a huge customer problem, which also then gives the board members as well as the senior management visibility on what's exactly happening in the business.
Brian, you know, it's spot on in terms of what you say, but think about it, right? Majority of the Office of Finance, the individuals and the professionals in there are chartered accountants, CFAs, CPAs. They spend 4 to 6 years getting a degree, going out there to get professional accreditation. Do you want them to be traditionally closing your books, spending 12 hours a day? We all have friends who are accountants, and when it's month end, they say, "Oh, I'm closing the books," you know, and they are there till midnight. Now, on average, it still happens. It takes between 12 to 14 days on average for businesses to close their books. That's half a month. So my question then is that where does the analysis happen? Where does the, you know, the whole perspective of analytical thinking, you know, from a business angle? Because everything then becomes rear view mirror, right? You're not really looking forward, because you spend 10 days to close the books. By the time you start your business, you then get ready for the next closing, and that's a vicious cycle that goes round and round.
That's right.
Right? So the idea about streamlining processes is where we talk about continuously doing it on a day-to-day basis, which should not be any different from any other task that you do from a business perspective. If you sell, you want to have sales every day, right? If you provide a service, you want to provide a service every day, and you want to get paid for that. No different from having a continuous process of making sure that you can streamline integrity, governance, and compliance your books on a daily basis.
Now, how then will the existing teams be redeployed? So I'll give you a quick thing, because, you know, this whole cliche, when you have automation, you have AI, you also have the ability to then, because you are closing daily, you have richness of data you never had before. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a whole cliche around data being the new oil. What's the difference between how senior finance folks can use this financial data compared to a before?
You know, the first things first, data has been there from day one, right? So we now see data, you hear all the cliches, right? Data is the new currency, data is the new oil. And I look at it, the explosion of data is because of the fact that we're generating more and more information that gets into data. Now, when you look at data, the question is that are we then interpreting that data, or are we just storing the data? The reason why cloud has just become so huge, because the element of where do you store the data? You want physical service that's going to take up blocks and blocks of it. So it doesn't make much sense. So the idea is then, if we have all this historical data, they got to be of value. The aha moment here is that it's got to be of value, because you're going to take historical data, whether it's cost benefit analysis or sales or revenue projections, and you look at cyclical timelines by quarter, by months, and say, you know what, when things do happen, and we all know when recession happens or when seasons come, there's going to be an effect in the business. So if you can use data in the financial area in terms of revenues, in terms of profit, in terms of growth projections, you can do historical analysis vis-a-vis what's going to possibly happen. Now, COVID has obviously thrown everything out of the window. The 3-5-year projection 3 years ago, it's gone.
Yes.
We're no longer looking at a 5-year projection. If you ask an organization, they say, we have a 5-year aim, I think it's a nice lofty vision right now because things are so fluid. So financial professionals can actually use data to their advantage. Use it to be more strategic, more trusted business partners to the company itself. Rather than just being, counting the processes, doing task analysis or variance analysis, and doing matching and getting the reports there. That's not exactly what they want to do. Right? I mean, look, if you look at the accounting is one of the oldest profession around, right? And it's not going to go away. But then again, just like anything else, you want it to automate, digitize, and transform. And so finance individuals are going to be extremely, extremely useful by adopting, right, technologies that's going to help them in the day-to-day process. So, and data is just going to help. It's just a medium. I mean, when I look at data, everybody talks about it, and I've been in the space for so long. I'm like, great. So what are you going to do about it? So data is there. We need technology to be the enabler, right? And in the finance world, that's exactly what BlackLine does, right? We just enable that very quickly.
Now, one of the key things that then impacts is the following. You need talent that actually knows, or finance talent that actually has relevant IT skills in order to take advantage of this opportunity. Is there a lot of retraining or reskilling involved?
I'm a big believer that continuous learning has got to happen, regardless of it, right? So let's put it out there first. I think every individual needs to continue to upskill themselves, retrain themselves, learn, unlearn, and relearn. That's absolutely important. And for simple reason, not just for where they are in their current organization, but also for their future state. That's number one. Now, when we look at, is it a specific skill set? Let's be honest about it. Every one of us have a smartphone today.
Yeah,
right? Every one of us. And if you look at us, and this is not just us, go to third world countries. In fact, I think they're more internet savvy than a lot of some of the elements itself. The point I'm trying to make over here, we are learning a lot of new things already today. Now, as finance professionals, when we see technology that is going to help us and streamline, we are gonna use that. We are gonna embrace that, right? So that, yes, of course, just like any technology, you want to learn, you want to adapt to it, you want to make sure you're educated and you get your CPE credits and you're certified on it. All this goes towards your professional accreditation, which is very, very important. It is essential. Is it a must? Absolutely. Is it easy to train? Like I said, with 3,800 customers worldwide is huge from that bit itself.
Now, one of the key things that you are now enabling, and you touched on this earlier in the interview, is really finance professionals to take a more strategic view.
Mm-hmm.
One of the areas they need to take a more strategic view is because of the increased importance and emphasis placed on ESG initiatives. Walk us through some of the things that you think that need to be looked at.
So when we look at ESG, we first want to align with the executives of the organization. What are their goals? What are the sustainability goals like, right? And with finance, it's important to say, right, is it a corporate imperative? That's very important. Is it something that's aligned in it? What's the long-term state of where you want to be? And then importantly, creating value for the stakeholders, right? We can integrate the business with the entire financial performance of where the organization wants to be alongside its sustainability commitments, right? And I think that's very important because when you want to do that, you're then aligning your corporate goals, your vision, but more importantly, taking the organization along that journey. And let me quote very recently, we had our Singapore Sustainability and Environment Minister, Minister Grace Fu, and I quote, being stewards of capital and corporate reporting, accountants play a crucial role in accelerating business practices in sustainability. So that by itself tells you that the finance process end to end is integral. It's not a nice to have, right? So when you talk about sustainability, you say, all right, what do we actually want to do, right? Do we pay attention to energy and resource? Do we pay attention to greenhouse gas emissions in terms of supply chain? How much is that costing us from door to door? Operational data, FTE headcount, benefits, productivity. The list is long, and finance plays an important part in a lot of these touch points itself.
And also, what are the things that sometimes people don't understand in the ESG space, or when we talk about ESG, some view it as a cost of business. Actually, the flip side is actually the case. It's probably a great opportunity waiting to be untapped. What's your view on that?
You know, it's massive. And again, the adage of what gets measured gets managed. I think that's where it is, right? Well, it holds true today. End of the day, you know, if you can measure your organization goals, right, you know, that was what's going to get managed. You know, the opportunity here for organizations to align with what they feel their greater lofty goals are, it's extremely important. Shareholder value, right? Consumer sentiment. Today we talk all about CX, customer experience, right? That goes a long way. You know, my own belief is that I want to be in an organization, or you know, or rather align with an organization that has this baked in their operational day to day. You know, not just one of those high vision, put it on the wall and say this is exactly what we're going to do. But, and we want to see that. We want to see that by them actually adopting, you know, change, adopting this process change. And I think that's very important.
Now, you know, Terry, you've been in this business for 20 years. How have 20 plus years, I think, you know, and you've even been at you know, your large competitors like Hyperion before. How have you seen this whole finance landscape shifting?
Firstly, Brian, does it show I've been in the business so long? Exciting hairline, but look, you know, when I started, when I look back at Hyperion, you know, it was still the Office of Finance. Has the Office of Finance changed? Has it changed drastically? The answer, no, right? But has it evolved? Yes. Yeah. The evolution has come into play, and evolution is also being driven by technology change and market dynamics. I've still been able to go back and talk to the same C-level executive I saw when I was at Hyperion and back to today at BlackLine, and we chat about it, right? And again, you know, you want to be you want to be associated with really market leader technology, right? You know, technology companies that have invested a lot in R&D, they spent a lot of money in there. They looked at the addressable market and said, "This is where it is." It is the entire space has evolved. I mean, when we talk, if you bring up Hyperion, geez, that's from the past, 2002, 2003, right? Then was when we were talking about something about cloud and Bluetooth, right? Technology, which, you know, it was there for some time, it never took off, right? And then now it's a big explosion of cloud, and SaaS is a must-have, right? Software as a service is a given. You say, yeah, that's where I want to be today, right? So it's a lot of this engagement that organizations have been also pushed to change, right? The catalyst to change has been competition, right? Competition across industry. Today, if you ask some of the big financial institutions, are they worried about their direct competitor, which might be another bank? The answer might be, no, I'm worried about all these fintech startups that are biting at our heels, right? And that's in a totally different space that's coming into their core bread and butter offering, right? Robo-advisors, for example. So that whole change has come in, and financial has really changed. Financial transformation has really changed much.
Now, it's been a fascinating conversation, Terry, but before we end this interview, what are 3 key things you would like to leave senior management and board members watching the show with as a last takeaway?
You know, and I'll break it up with three big points, right? The first thing is that there needs to be adoption, right? The people, and in adoption, it needs to be really agile. You got to be really agile. So agility plays a big part. You cannot wait and see anymore, right? Embrace the whole digital transformation process, and that needs to happen today. When you look at technology, technology is now going to be the biggest enabler for you. Now, that I'm not saying open a checkbooks and go and spend $10 million on a big transformation project. Or, you know, I'm not saying go and get a big consulting agency coming in there to talk to you about the process, but start having that conversation. Invest in your people, right? You got to invest in your people, because they are literally, if you talk about what's going to happen next, the people are going to take it there. So, you know, learn, unlearn, relearn, you know, invest in education, invest in rescaling them. A lot of the organizations, be it in Singapore, in Malaysia, and many of the governments are actually spending a lot of money back into the productivity grants. Use that. And lastly, you know what? Don't be shy to try something. If you try it and you fail, great. Fail fast and get up and go, right? Let's not have a Kodak moment. Let's put it this way, right? Where we have that. So I'll leave that with that bit.
Terry, thank you very much for taking your time to come on the show.
Absolute pleasure, Brian. Thank you so much.
Now, I'm Brian Fernandez on Biztech's Enterprise Technology Show, and we've been speaking to Terry Smagh, Senior Vice President and General Manager, Asia Pacific and Japan at BlackLine. This video will be on our various social media platforms, as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks again for tuning in.